Hey friends, it's been a while since my last video. I have been thinking about how you guys are doing. So I felt it was time to make a little video. Do you ever wonder if you're walking through or living through an apocalypse type, sci-fi nightmare Hollywood thing? It feels like that, hey? For me, Andrea, it feels very much like that. And the soup that people are walking through in South Africa is different to the soup we were seeing in other places. Similar, very similar, but there are nuances and differences that you can so easily see that the program as altered here, different here than it is over there, but still with the same agenda. And it's horrible to contemplate. Children here far more often are wearing the nappy on the face. I think they have from the age of 5 or 6 or something, they need to be wearing that. And people shrug their shoulders and say, what can you do about it? And yeah, we know it's not so good for us, but there's this other thing. All around me I see good men doing nothing, and this is how evil prospers. Or good men altered. Sorry to use a church reference there, but altered. The ego primed, the vagus nerve damaged, the sciatic nerve fired up on the day of birth. With that sharp implement straight into the heel. Heel is how you get a dog to come to your attention. There's a lot of talk in the news I've heard about the Iron Dome or the something dome shield of the situation in the Middle East. Can I even say the name that bears ISIS and Ra? And electricity in its title. The camp we all know as being one of the hot spots, and perhaps a primary place that some of the old books that everyone clings to have told us there will be madness and craziness, dawn of the dead, the sheep and the goats running amok. There's this thing that I spoke about on Jeranism more than a year ago about the curvature of the earth. And Bob and Jeran were very much willing to look at this, but they weren't able to kind of get over this principal concept or this principal notion that we've all propagated because we were all taught it, that curvature is also relative to the individual viewer or person measuring it. So if I'm standing here, I'm saying that the first mile is 8 inches, the next mile is 32. But if you're standing a mile from me, you'd say, no, the next mile is only 8 inches. See, this is relativity used against us once more. Because on a ball, let's not get into the oblate stuff, but on a ball, the amount of curvature is not relative to where you happen to be looking at it. It is always going to be curving at the same amount. So that brings into question this whole thing of us saying, oh, the first few miles have only got a small amount, it's hard to see, Bedford levels, you really need to have binoculars and the perfect situation and so on to be able to even see the 6 foot 10 miles. So it leaves, in the mind of someone being presented with this information, it leaves that room for doubt, well, it could be there. And we see that ship going under and all that. But when you're saying, at 1,000 miles, it's, well, the next the mile after the 1,000th mile is going to drop hundreds of feet. Well, that's ridiculous, because the person standing at 1,000 mile mark would say, no, of course not. The next mile is only going to go down at 8 inches, as the formula says. This cannot be, friends. This is more mind trickery. So there was, Jiren floated something that I hadn't even looked at, because I hadn't really researched this. I thought this through, and he brought up something called Sagitta or Sagitta as another measure of measuring it, but it also didn't kind of afford the same kind of common sense logic that I apply to this, which is that if I travel from the top of this tiny basketball, and it's the equivalent of the Earth, then I'm going to travel top to bottom, which is 12,000 odd miles, across the skin, but it's also going to drop down 8,000 miles. So if you get rid of the zeros, you're talking about a 12 and 8. Yeah? So for every 12 I travel over the skin, I'm going to reduce my height relative to the top of this by 8. In simple terms, that means that if you travel a kilometer, you're going to have descended 600 meters. 600 meters, there or thereabouts, right? Which is an extremely steep hill. I think the problem with the Sagitta model with maths and all the other maths that they do is that when they draw the line at the top and then the line at the 3 o'clock position, they forget that the pencil line is still horizontal, whereas the ship, it's still sort of, the pencil line always comes off the side. Hello, Gus. This is Gus. Gus is a beautiful dog. We're staying temporarily at a place, and Gus is the owner, one of the owner's dogs. The owner says Gus doesn't pay him any attention at all. But straight away when I met Gus was like, oh, I'll hang out with you. Anyway, border collies or sheepdog. I do like him. It reminds us a bit of Freya, Ian's dog, back in all the way back in Norfolk. Sorry, in Lincoln. A year ago. Yeah. Alexander had his 3rd birthday there. Good Lord, that little boy has had to pay a heavy price. And there's times when I just wish I'd left the TV on and just carried on the 9 to 5 and kept paying the bills and paying the taxes. Yeah, my little boy Alexander is so important to me. So, and all the children are. And the thing is that I met with my dad and his wife the other day, and it was cordial. But she said, "Oh, you're saying I don't know myself?" Because I was trying to give a little bit of information about what's going on. I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, how do we truly know ourselves if we've been harmed from the beginning? We've been altered. Someone hurts the dog. If I hurt the dog, then it will alter his personality. And the younger I do it, the more it will alter his personality. Same is true with a little boy or a little girl. And actually, psychologically, you might even be able to retain someone at a particular age. And, I know I've referenced The Shawshank a lot, but I also started to think about Bugsy Malone and how, like, the world has just been run by, like gangs of children, obviously in adult bodies. So Gita and all the other measures always have the pencil line horizontal. But actually, by the time you get to the 3 o'clock position, the pencil line should be vertical, perpendicular to the original starting point, which is a 90-degree shift. 90 degrees in its angular position. So 90 degrees over 15 minutes is, what's that, 6 degrees per minute. 6 degrees, your pencil line has to be kind of tilted down every minute by 6 degrees. He's a bit demanding. A bit demanding. We've been here 2 days at this place, and we're clinging on, and a big thanks to our friends who have paid for this accommodation. Situation is less than ideal at the moment. No vehicle, and you can't just walk out here at the moment. Anyway, I am looking for solutions, and the truth is that most doors have been closed to me. In fact, for those of you who are tweaked at all by the red bricks behind me and the connection to Freemasonry, here's a quick Freemason story for you. About 30 years ago, I happened to be out drinking with the lawyer of this company I was working with, a small company, and another story, a story for another day, but we get back to this hotel we're staying in, which is actually closed to the public, but we had access, we were using it, the owner had let us use it, but this concierge had shut the front door, locked the front door. So we decided to go over the side wall, and the lawyer goes first. We didn't realize there was glass embedded in the top of the brick, and we just hear this blood-curdling scream, and the adrenaline just kicks in, and I find maybe a better way over the wall. I jump over the wall, and my first thought is that this guy had been bitten by a shark. Like, his arm was just shredded. So I find the strength to pick it. He'd fallen onto a roof, and a tin roof, and so he's not as high to lift up over the side of the wall. And I pass him over to this bodybuilder friend of mine, and I tell him to try and staunch, to close the as much as he can in the armpit, the artery, try and staunch the flow of blood, but because his arm is just tatters, his forearm, and put him in my car. I had a BMW at the time, and it was only a couple of years old, and he was pissing blood all over the place. And at about 150 kilometers an hour, this is 3 or 4 in the morning, and about 150 kilometers an hour, I go through these streets of Cape Town. Honestly, so fast. Red lights, just straight to the nearest hospital. Doctors gave him 15 minutes to live. when they got him in, and he had to have grafts and lots of surgery and stuff to fix up his arm. Anyway, he continued to be a lawyer, and he actually contacted me a few years ago. I lost touch with him, but he contacted me a few years ago, and when I came out here, I asked him if he would do me a favor or two, to try and help me out. And the other day I contacted him to see if he had maybe a friend who had accommodation that he could, like a holiday home or something, because there's a lot of people in this country with holiday homes in the upper income brackets. And in the course of the messages, initially he said he was going to help me out. In the course of the messages, he then goes, by the way, because I'd given him some information, and I think he's seen my YouTube channel, he may even see this. So what? By the way, I'm a like top level, one of the highest ranking Freemasons in South Africa, and you can go and choke on your conspiracy theories. You don't know, you don't fuck all about what's going on here. So for those of you who think that I'm like that, I could show you the messages. There's something strange going on here, and there are secrets. I try not to be one of those people that wants to hold on to information. I just give it out. But what if we are shilling for the Flat Earth Society? What if we presented people with a curvature that said you live on a 24 ball with an 8 diameter. To get from top to bottom, you've got 12 and 8 down. 12 steps over and 8 steps down. It's as simple as that. They've used maths and relativity again to fool us, I think. Some people have suggested that I take the John St. Julian approach and set up a refuge for people. It's actually something that Andrew and I spoke about for many years. And it all, whenever we spoke about it, the vision centered on Africa, because this is where we know, where I thought we, I do get on very well with Africans here, very well. And I think they regard white people, increasingly, they regard white people as scared of them. And there is a whole psychology that I missed out on by not being here for the last 3 decades, And I hope to be able to take advantage of that, to build bridges. Because people are going to need people more and more as this tyranny continues to show its hand. I'm not sure exactly what I'm meant to be doing, but I'm trying to be faithful and patient and prepared. I think we've all got our path to walk. I just want to say thank you to the two guys who sent us a PayPal the other day. I don't have your names in my mind right now. You know who you are. Someone said in a comment the other day, I'm paraphrasing, but what are you moaning about? We've got to carry on doing our thing here to, the job and taking the kids to school and so on, or whatever it is. But, I sympathize with any person's position and wherever they are. And of course, we've all made decisions and choices that have caused us to be in a particular place at this time. But I just want you to know that there's nothing glamorous about what Andrea has had to go through, what Zizi has had to go through. There's nothing glamorous about it. The only thing I can say that's good is that it is a series of tests, which at the end of the day, I hope we will look back and go, it was worth it. The tests were worth it. We needed to be humbled. We needed to prove ourselves. Yeah, so we will see where this ends up. But I never imagined life would turn out like this. And our world would end up in such a pickle. There's been days when I'm not sure what I'm meant to be doing, and if I should be just sitting at home watching EastEnders, CNN, BBC, waiting for whatever. Because the soup is thick here, and the soup is thick probably where you are. So maybe it's still a matter of patience. But there have been days of doubt. The stark reality in South Africa is that the majority of people are living desperately poorly, backs to the wall. Abundance is absent, but for a few. Good men cannot do nothing on this. And good men and women, of course, I mean that. So wherever you are, and when the time is right, do something. I've probably gone on long enough, and the Wi-Fi here is appalling, so it might take days to load this. We'll see how we go, and stay well. Sorry it's been so long since my last, but my head has been absolutely unable. And of course I only want to offer the glamorous bits, Truthfully, it is a little difficult to talk when you're feeling like, what the hell have I done? Have I made a massive mistake? Getting back to England is so challenging, and 10 days in solitary confinement, with my little boy particularly, seems unthinkable for me. So for now, the only way is forward.